Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star 2 episode number 104 based on novel. So let's start. It has been more than 200 years since Luo Feng came to the infinite space of the treasure land, and he has accumulated a lot of knowledge in the avenue of life and death. He has created 19 secret methods of the first level of the God King in the Tao of life and death alone. He does not care about the number of secret methods. The secrets are all realized naturally by oneself. When the Hundong Immortal Light was promoted to the second level of the God King this time, Luo Feng's accumulation finally ushered in a qualitative change. One after another, branches of the Tao of life and death emerged in his mind, and Luo Feng carefully considered the integration. 3 more days passed before Luo Feng stopped. I have understood the 6 branches of the Tao of birth and death, but it is obviously not complete yet. Luo Feng frowned slightly. It seems that my accumulation is not enough to understand all the branches. There are several kinds of the origin Tao. Branch? This is undefined. For example, the origin of space Tao has 9 branches. It is easier to get started, but it becomes more difficult as you go forward. In the future, you must integrate the 9 branches into one to achieve the ultimate state. The avenue, Tao, of the origin of time, has only 3 branches, and it is extremely difficult to get started. But once you become a God King on this path, your strength will be very terrifying. Luo Feng saw the perfect inheritance of Time and Space Walker in the Infinite Space Treasure House. This is the fusion of time and space to form a more terrifying time and space Tao. Of course, the threshold for cultivation is incredibly high. Life and destruction are 2 Taos that exist within the supreme rules, each with 6 branches. I use the 2 as the foundation to create my way of life and death. The way of life and death should have 9 branches. Luo Feng realized the 6 major branches at this moment, and the remaining 3 major branches were vaguely formed, but to fully understand it, he still needed to accumulate. The 6 major branches that I have realized are the Dripping Blood branch, the Red Sun branch, the Annihilation branch, the Eternal branch, the Black Smoke branch, and the Walker branch. Luo Feng clearly understood the 6 branches. The branch is a bit sad. After all, my ability is limited. In the fusion of life and death, I have given up too many roots. Luo Feng knows this very well. There are 6 branches of life and destruction. During the fusion process, if you absorb a little from any of the branches, you can fuse it into a possibility. Therefore, there are many possibilities for the branches of the Great Road of Birth and Death. There may be 30, 50, or even over 100 possibilities. For example, 36 major branches? 108 branches can completely explain all the secrets of the fusion of life and death. But exhausting all the methods is not something Luo Feng can do as a God King. At this point a choice must be made. Seeking perfection? Luo Feng still can't find the end. You must give up. Give up what you are not interested in and choose what you want. Follow the direction you set, and then decide on the branches one by one. I gave up a lot and chose the core part one want. Luo Feng thought, even so, 9 branches are needed. Each branch are more powerful than the 6 branches of life and the 6 branches of destruction. The foundation is extremely deep. Luo Feng was sitting cross-legged on the island in the middle of the lake. He stood up and looked around. I have realized the branches of the Great Tao, but there are no reward points in the infinite space. Luo Feng guessed, is it meant to be shown? In the treasure land of infinite space, it is impossible to explore the thoughts of every practitioner at all times. Walker lineage. Luo Feng said casually. Buzz. Countless secret patterns emerged, naturally forming a dark human shape. This dark figure seems to contain endless power, but it is all condensed into this small figure. Every move can be said to destroy the world. Just relying on this branch is considered to be extremely strong in the first level of the God King. This dark figure is formed by countless secret patterns, and the secret patterns flow to explain the mystery of the Tao. Infinite space sensed all this, and a message immediately came from the mark on Luo Feng's palm. Trialist, Origin Continent Luo Phone. Based on the 2 DAOs of life and destruction, a new DAO has been opened up. Evaluation of the new DAO, Part 1. Wait. 10,000 reward points. You have finally taken the first step on the new road, and you still need to work hard. The body of the Chaos Realm has reached the ultimate will of the God King. Reward points for the soul. 10,000 points. Your mind and will are relatively good. Please continue to maintain it after becoming the God King. The total reward points are 20,182.01 points. Luo Feng sensed this information and opened a branch of the reward points for Master Di Chu. I told myself this a long time ago. Try again. Luo Feng stretched out his hand a little more, and countless secret patterns of the Tao condensed, finally condensing into a drop of blood. This drop of blood condensed in the secret pattern of the Tao vaguely contains the breath of endless life, but it also seems to be extremely heavy and even more difficult to shake. This is the bloodline. A new Tao, only the first branch of the Tao has reward points. Subsequent branches have no reward points, the reward points are too difficult to obtain. Luo Feng secretly sighed. Simply dealing with spiritual creatures in infinite space would take too long. Secondly, the main core areas are occupied by major forces. If you act alone, you can only find some spiritual creatures in remote places. How many points are there in total for the spiritual creatures that have not been occupied by the big forces? Therefore, the way to obtain huge reward points is to rely on opening up avenues and spiritual will. Opening a new branch of the Tao is simply more difficult than reaching the second level of the God King. Luo Feng secretly thought that he had accumulated 2 paths of life and destruction. As long as he studied a little, he could reach the second level of the God King in a short time. The path of birth and death is the path Luo Feng identified in the primitive universe, the path he chose from his heart. But it is so difficult to open a branch. It can be seen from this that it is difficult to obtain reward points. Many ancient God Kings believe that the value of infinite space is understandable if they are at the bottom among the treasure lands. Luo Feng, who is so talented, has only received more than 20,000 reward points so far. Such reward points, converted into the credit of the guest ministers of the 2 ancient countries, are probably only hundreds of millions of credits. The reward points obtained by those ancient God Kings were far inferior to those of Luo Feng. The value of infinite space lies in the fact that there are many inheritances and treasures that are not available to the outside world. Luo Feng immediately checked the infinite space treasure house. There are 2 types of resources in the treasure house, one is inheritance and the other is treasure. Most of the ancient God Kings came to the infinite treasure land at all costs, all for the inheritance in the infinite treasure land. There are special inheritance and even perfect inheritance that are not available to the outside world. On the path of spiritual practice, inheritance must be more important than treasures. When the reward points are few, they will naturally be used wisely. Luo Feng has never purchased treasures before. The second level chapter of the God King in World Life Form, 100 Cave Beast Body, both require 3,000 reward points. There are 6,000 reward points in total, and I need to reserve them first. There are too few reward points, and both life and destruction. Luo Feng was only willing to tentatively decide on a special inheritance. The ultimate chapter of the special inheritance, the price is too high, and it is temporarily unavailable. Look at the treasure. After the treasures in the infinite space are exchanged, they can be directly transported to the origin continent where the real body is. Treasure information. Ranked first is the Heart Flying Boat, which requires 20,000 reward points to be redeemed. It surpasses the God King level flying boat. It is stable and solid, indestructible in the source world, and can travel to any place in the source world instantly. Is it indestructible in the source world? Luo Feng was very moved when he saw it. It was possible to purchase secret treasures that surpassed the God King level. The unlimited space reward points were really practical. Such treasures were enough to make the emperors and monarchs of the 2 ancient kingdoms jealous. I bought it, but I don't dare to use it. Luo Feng didn't think much more. The second-ranked treasure, the Great Road Map, requires 20,000 reward points to be redeemed. The Great Road Map can deduce the secret method suitable for oneself, and can also analyze the Great Road to assist in practice, greatly improving the efficiency of comprehending the Great Road. The weaker the strength, the better the Tao diagram's auxiliary effect. It can more easily reach the peak of the second level of the God King. Danger reminder: to master a complete road, you still need to realize yourself, and the road map cannot help at all. And because you use the Tao map to understand in the early stage, it will be extremely difficult to finally understand the complete Tao, so please choose carefully. If you just deduce the secret method that suits you, there will be no future troubles. The ninth treasure, the Lotus Heart Seed, requires 18,000 reward points to redeem. The Lotus Heart Seed can grow a Lotus of Life in the inner universe, which can make the inner universe more stable. The physical body contains endless vitality and the physical strength is greatly enhanced. The physical body is incomparably consistent with the Tao of the origin of life, and the efficiency of practice is greatly increased, just like the favored child of the Tao of the origin of life. This Lotus Heart Seed is a good thing. Luo Feng saw it with enthusiasm. For himself who cultivates the world's life form, if the world's life form is strengthened again, his strength will naturally be further improved. More importantly, it can also make him the favored child of the avenue of life. The only problem is that it is too expensive, and Luo Feng is reluctant to spend all 18,000 points. A piece of treasure, Scale of Destruction, needs 12,000 reward points to exchange. Integrating the Scale of Destruction into the body can transform the body into the body of the Demon of Destruction. The physical body is incomparably compatible with the Tao of Destruction of the origin, and the efficiency of practice is greatly increased, just like the favored child of the Tao of Destruction of the origin. Danger reminder. 1. When integrated into the Scale of Destruction, there will be an impact of the will to kill. The spiritual will must reach the ultimate state of the God King in order to successfully integrate the Scale of Destruction. 2. It is recommended that only those who have a clone can redeem it. If there is only one true body and it is transformed into a demon of destruction, it will affect the practice of other Tao. Transformed into a body that destroys demons? Luo Feng was moved. He had a clone, and his mind and will also matched. He saw so many treasures, and the ones he was most excited about were the Lotus Heart Seed and the Scale of Destruction, because they can both assist the cultivation of life and the path of destruction. Lotus seeds are more helpful and not dangerous. But the Scale of Destruction is much cheaper. Become the favored child of the great path of destruction? I'll give it a try, and see what it's like to be a favored child of the great path. Luo Feng carefully examined all the treasure information, hesitated no more, and chose this Scale of Destruction. Exchange. The first floor of the Star Tower. Is its value comparable to a secret treasure that surpasses the God King level? Luo Feng looked at the warm scale in his palm. In the Infinite Space Treasure House, the cheapest secret treasure that surpasses the God King level is only 12,500 points, which is almost the same as the Scale of Destruction. This scale. Luo Feng was very patient and did not use it directly, but observed carefully. This scale is mainly black, and the edges of the scales gradually become transparent and appear cyan. When magnified hundreds of millions of times, you can see that there are mysterious secret patterns on the scales. The countless imprinted secret patterns completely block the breadth of this scale. Luo Feng consciously tried to touch it, and when he touched the scales, he felt an extremely terrifying will to kill. Kill, kill, kill. This terrifying will impacted Luo Feng's soul. The ultimate will of the God King could only stay awake under such an impact. Only one scale, and a scale that has been refined, still retains such a terrifying will to kill? Luo Feng was secretly shocked. How terrifying must the life source of this scale be? Being able to refine scales can make the weak. It's unbelievable that the God King can use this to destroy the demon body and the refiner's strength, Luo Feng thought. The more you understand your own insignificance. Whether it was the bits of information revealed in the special inheritance or items such as the Scale of Destruction, Luo Feng had a glimpse of the higher world. Yuan was able to leave treasures one after another, and he could also leave so many resources in these treasures. Obviously, in outside the origin world, Yuan status should be very high, far surpassing the ancestors of the two ancient countries. Luo Feng thought. Luo Feng carefully observed the scale of destruction for 3 full days and recorded some of the secret patterns that could be seen, before it began to truly integrate into his body. The perfect divine body separated into a clone containing 99% of the divine power reserve. The remaining small amount of the perfect divine body began to use the small universe again to absorb energy crazily and began to slowly recover. Let's transform this huge clone. Luo Feng held the black scales in his hand and pressed it directly on his chest, and the black scales quickly blended into his skin. When redeeming the scale of destruction, Luo Feng had already obtained detailed instructions on how to use it. Kill. Destroy. The terrifying will to kill swept through his heart. Luo Feng's expression did not change, and he still calmly observed the changes in his body. After this scale of destruction was integrated into the skin, the hidden power naturally exploded and began to erode Luo Feng's entire body, causing the skin, flesh, and muscles to change naturally. The erosion rate was very fast, even though the energy reserve of Luo Feng's clone was greater than that of the world's life forms. There is more. But in just over 10 breaths, the body was naturally transformed. The moment the transformation was successful, the scales of destruction were naturally annihilated, and the original will to kill disappeared and had no influence anymore. Even the smallest composition of the body has changed. Luo Feng carefully observed this destruction demon clone. This huge body has scales similar to the scales of destruction, and it also covers Luo Feng's face. However, these scales are light blue, and the aura is much weaker than the scales of destruction. His eyes glowed golden, a tail grew naturally, and 6 curved horns sprouted from the top of his head. These 6 curved horns are somewhat similar to one of the appearances of the Tao of Destruction of the Origin. This demon-destroying clone is average in terms of strength. Even if I transform it into a large enough divine body, it can barely reach the threshold of the 2nd level of the God King. It is much worse than the world's life form clone. Luo Feng shook his head gently. But it is indeed the favored child of the Tao of Destruction. Luo Feng stretched out his right paw and waved it gently. Phew! The secret of the Tao of Destruction of the Origin was touched at will. Luo Feng felt that his body seemed to be a part of the Tao of Destruction of the Origin, and he could sense and understand the Tao of Destruction of the Origin with his body. Of course, this body's response to other Taos is very vague. I took the 5-color treasure medicine. The 5-color treasure medicine allows the body and soul to align with the original path of destruction. It can last for about 3 centuries. The scale of destruction only transforms the body. It does not affect the soul. But the body fit is stronger than the 5-color medicine. In terms of overall effect, the scale of destruction can achieve about 70% to 80% of the 5-color treasure medicine. Luo Feng thought, the most important thing is that this state lasts forever. Luo Feng was very satisfied with this state of affairs. A 5-color treasure medicine is worth 10 million credits. The body that destroys the demons can permanently maintain about 70% to 80% of the 5-color treasure medicine state, so the value can be imagined. My cultivation of the Tao of Destruction will completely surpass the Tao of Life's origin. Luo Feng also realized this. Ever since Morosa was able to display the complete Tao of Destruction, the cultivation speeds of the 2 paths have been almost the same. But now, the path of destruction of origin has made progress faster. In the treasure house of infinite space, there are also lotus heart seeds that have become the favored child of the Tao of the origin of life, but they are too expensive. Time passes by. Although he has become the favored child of the Tao of Destruction, he still needs time to accumulate himself. Compared to the ancient beings on the origin continent, Luo Feng is too young. One of the spaces deep in the dream realm. It is dark and unpredictable, and countless underground passages form a maze-like world. In one of the caves, Luo Feng turned into a big stone and was practicing the Great Destruction Mind Refining Method. The will inheritance left by Lai Yuan technique, among which the Great Destruction Mind Refining Method for cultivating will became more and more obvious after Luo Feng continued to advance in the path of destruction of the origin. Rumble tilde tilde tilde. In the center of the endless cave, Luo Feng's mind has turned into a blurry figure, and Luo Feng's appearance can be vaguely seen in the figure. The spiritual figure sits cross-legged, resisting the continuous penetration and erosion of the deep layers of the dream realm, while resisting the obliteration of the great destruction mind-refining technique. It has been more than 150 years since I came to the dream realm. I feel that my mind continues to transform, but the strength of my mind and will can never break through the bottleneck of the ultimate realm of the God King. Luo Feng also felt that this road was too difficult. Cultivation in the dream realm is very torturous. Luo Feng pursues his own limits every time and practices until he completely sinks into the dreamland of the dream realm. Of course, as soon as you enter a dream, stop the great destruction mind-refining method and you will wake up soon. In 150 centuries, Luo Feng has fallen into ruin dozens of times. The improvement of the Tao and the opening of new Tao. These improve Luo Feng's understanding of the Tao, and his mind and will naturally improve. Infinite space wipes out spiritual creatures again and again, which is also helpful to the soul. The great destruction mind-refining method has been persisting, and the effect is more obvious after possessing the destruction demon clone. I can feel myself transforming, but I just haven't made a breakthrough. No wonder, in the origin continent, except for Emperor Qing, everyone else's spiritual will surpass the God King level only after they realized a complete origin path. Luo Feng also admired Emperor Qing very much at this moment. The Emperor's soul is definitely not as good as his perfect divine body in terms of soul foundation. But before he could realize the complete avenue, his spiritual will surpass the level of a God King. Of course, as the royal God King of Yangfeng Ancient Kingdom, Emperor Bo was too dazzling after his rise, and he must have received much more resources than himself. What he gained as an idle God King may only be a fraction of what he got from the core of the two royal families. Despite resisting the deep invasion of the dream realm and the dual training of the great destruction mind-refining technique, Luo Feng was still able to use distractions, but he couldn't focus too much on his practice in this state. As time went on, Luo Feng gradually became more and more exhausted, and he could not even be distracted. All the clones in the outside world were temporarily in seclusion. But Luo Feng did not stop, but continued to persisting to the final limit until he fell into a dream. Luo Feng had fallen into dreams dozens of times in the past 150 years, and he would summarize every time he woke up. Luo Feng has forgotten most of the dreams, but he can still remember a few. The parts written down are very confusing, and some are even contradictory. But there are also some scenes that Luo Feng feels are far beyond the scope of the source world. The ancestor summoned you? A voice sounded. Luo Feng forgot who he was. At this moment, he was huge and seemed to possess incredible power. At this moment, he stood there with great respect, waiting patiently. I have made great achievements this time, and I was even summoned by the ancestor. I don't know how the ancestor will reward me. There was joy in my heart. When can the ancestor summon me again? I've been waiting for a long time. A feeling of exhaustion emerged. How will the ancestor punish me? Fear arises. The dream was very confusing, as if he had visited the ancestor many times, and he seemed to have been waiting for the ancestor's summons. Finally, a huge eye appears. Luo Feng looked at this huge eye and said with great respect, "Ancestor." This so-called ancestor was surrounded and covered by endless Tao. Luo Feng in the dream could not see its true appearance, but only saw that huge eye. That eye seemed to be engraved into Luo Feng's soul, making Luo Feng was terrified and had no thoughts of resistance. Buzz tilde tilde tilde. The whole dream trembled. After stopping the great destruction mind-refining method, Luo Feng's mind and will had been breaking free from the dream. The moment he saw the huge eyes, Luo Feng's soul and will instinct rebelled fiercely, and the entire dream began to fall apart. Wow! Completely broken, everything disappears. Luo Feng regained consciousness. Luo Feng revealed his true face, with fear in his eyes. Why is the memory so clear this time? Most of what he saw in dreams in the past will be forgotten, and the few memories will not be affected. But this time, that eye? Luo Feng still remembered it after he woke up. Although it was a little blurry, those eyes still filled Luo Feng's heart with endless fear. Even his spiritual will could not suppress this fear. Fear, trembling with fear. Can't control myself. Just thoughts of fear, surrender. How could this happen? Luo Feng instantly dispersed the clone and annihilated himself. Huyang City, inside the Star Tower. Luo Feng's perfect divine body, demon-destroying clones, and world life form clones all looked shocked and angry. Cannot be forgotten, indelible. Luo Feng tried to erase that memory, but he couldn't. This memory has penetrated into the entire soul. Even if I destroy all the memories, my brain will go blank. This memory will still surface. Destroy it. Luo Feng used the Great Destruction Mind Refining Technique, to eliminate distracting thoughts in the mind and eliminate these fearful thoughts. Better. By continuing to maintain the Great Destruction Mind Refining method, whenever thoughts of fear or surrender appear, they are erased. Luo Feng also feels that his mind is much purer and more ethereal. It is still rooted in the soul. Luo Feng also realized the problem. The great destruction of the mind refining method can only erase all distracting thoughts and make the mind empty enough. But the root cause cannot be destroyed. I heard that if you practice the Hunyuan bloodline, the remaining will of the Hunyuan bloodline will pollute your own soul. Even if you are reincarnated like the Emperor, there will be no will pollution after reincarnation, but there will still be this memory pollution, and the memory pollution will only it is difficult to eradicate if it can be controlled by oneself. Memory pollution is less severe than will pollution. But it is also a kind of pollution. The Emperor Fu has always been carrying it. At this moment, Luo Feng is also burdened with memory pollution. This video will end here.